for me when I have to take a flight.
We're streaming live now. I think we're live.
Okay.
It's coming up. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, let me see. Okay. It looks like we're live on YouTube. Here we go. One person's watching, so it looks like it's out there. Bear with me. I'm going to send this link in an email.
Okay.
And send this to Phoebe so she can tweet about it on social media. Are we getting some people watching? This is private, actually. Let me just see. Why is it coming up as private? How do I edit it so it's public? Visibility should be public.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Are you watching it? Okay.
In YouTube. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's live. We've probably got some people thinking, what am I doing? But then that's good. You're watching it on YouTube. I can't actually see it now. Where am I? Bear with me. I can't actually see where the live stream. 2 people watching, 3 people watching. Looks like people are joining us now. Let me just check.
Okay, I have bet on how much people is joining. So
yeah,
I
okay.
hope it is a high number.
More than 3, I hope. More than 3. Okay, so if people are watching, yeah, 5 people watching now. So we're definitely live. We definitely conquered that. You'll be able to, if people have questions, then I know there's only 5 people watching now, but you can ask on that chat window there. I think you need to. I think I've muted you by accident there. Yeah. And you can on the right hand side, Miguel, have I muted you? Sorry. No, I don't think I have. Sorry, I've got too many video windows going. There we go. Let me just send this out. Okay, Miguel, while I do this, do you want to do a bit of an introduction to yourself and what you do and your work, not just at Winner Odds, but at the Spanish Bettors Association?
Okay, wait. First of all, like Unai Emery says, good evening to everyone. And well, I'm civil engineer, and I started working with artificial intelligence many years ago. So I have applied it in different fields, and I think that it is a very powerful tool, but you have to know which are the limitations and which are the applications you have. Or you can solve with this kind of tools. I used it, for example, to predict the skills in a game that is called Hat Trick many years ago in 2005. And it was very fun to see that people was using this tool I provided them. After many years, I found that it could be applied to sports betting, and I started with these artificial intelligence algorithms to predict the probabilities of each tennis player to win a match. And then I started betting. It was 2015, and it was a very good year for me because I was the only one using that algorithm at the beginning. So the odds were pretty stable and nobody was taking the value. And after that, as I knew that the bookmakers would restrict my account, I started thinking on how could I take profit from this algorithm when my account was restricted or closed. So I contacted a team of Winner's team, and they helped me with the website and the way of sharing this info with all the users. And then in 2016, we started sharing this information by subscription with many users, mainly in Spain. And now we have more and more foreign users. And that is very, very good for us because they are using other bookmakers not available in Spain, so that it is something that works very well because the users are not competing between them most of the time. And well, some years ago, I started this legal war against the bookmakers. I started with a lawsuit against Bet365, and I felt that we need to join a lot of people so that we have more possibilities of having influence on the regulator. And finally, with other three guys, we created the Spanish Gambling Sports Bettor Association, Spanish Sports Bettor Association, and it has been a very good experience to meet with the regulators. We met the Spanish regulators last summer, and it was very interesting to see which are their interests, which are the problems they find to help us, or which are the pressure they have from the bookmakers. And I think that we can, in the following months or years, we can have some influence on also in the regulation and ask and improve our situation here in Spain.
Okay. And you've recently, well, more recently, you've branched out not just from tennis, but also you do football, table
Yep.
tennis. So you've got quite a lot that you do now at Winner Odds. So we're not going to just take questions on the tennis side of it today. If people do have questions, then please do. I know it says now we've got over 30 people watching. You can pop your questions in the live chat window. I think you need to like the Smart Betting Club channel. But if you have a question as we chat, or even, before we get onto a topic, if there's something you'd like us to tackle on your behalf, whether it be tennis, football, table tennis, Miguel's work with the Spanish Bettors Association, taking bookmakers to court, legal action against bookmakers, unfair practice, all these topics, there's quite a lot we can tackle today. And until we get some questions, I've got a few that I wanted to ask you as well. Miguel, in terms of your own betting, was that the main driver behind expanding Winner Odds? You're very keen on betting yourself. How much do you bet every day, every week, and how important is that to you?
Well, I can say that I have an average of 20 bets per day since the beginning of Winner Odds. So it is a huge amount of bets I have placed. In one of these lawsuits against a bookmaker, they asked to the Spanish regulator for the information about all the bets I have placed in in my life, and they sent around 30,000 bets in a single PDF document. So it was really big document. So I have placed many bets, and also I could say that more or less the last years I have earned more or less the same in my civil engineering job like betting. So I have both incomes.
Okay, perfect. So you juggle, so you bet extensively yourself, and you're talking from
Yeah.
a position of experience, not just the theoretical idea of it, but the experience of actually doing it. And how many people do make up the Winner Odds team? How many people alongside yourself are working? Because I imagine there's a lot of work with data scraping, with
Yeah.
checking on the algorithm. What we see as a user is probably just a small fraction of what actually goes on behind the scenes. How many people work there?
Yeah. We are 8 people, not full time, but we are 8 people working on this. We have people with the backend and all what is required to show the minimum profitable odds to the users. We have also a designer. We have a guy that is helping with the marketing and all the selling strategy. And I also have a very smart guy that helps me with the algorithms because I am not a programmer and I have many limitations with that. It's really, I am really very lucky with the team I have. So I think that we started with more or less 5 people and now we are growing. And as the number of users increases, we also need to attend them through the customer service. So there is a lot of work behind the web page and the application.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of the team is growing, and we said
Yeah,
said at the start of this video, you started with tennis, and now you do football and also
yeah.
table tennis, and I believe there's other things behind the scenes that you're working on. We've got a few questions. Brenda, I see your questions. That is probably not one for the live stream. That's one to talk to Winner Odds about. Hi, Carl. And I've actually got a good question from Wood Eben one. It says, "Hi, Miguel. Do you think it is inevitable in a long term that a bookmaker will limit your account if you are making money?"
Well, it depends on the bookmaker strategy, but most of them are limiting or restricting the amounts you bet. I remember an interview to a Skybet director that says that, well, for them it's normal to restrict that customers.
Yep.
The law doesn't say anything about that, so they do the best they can to win more money, to earn more money from the users. I also had a conversation with a Spanish bookmaker, and I remember him because his name was really peculiar because it was Ivan Riesgo. That means Ivan Risk. And he told me that they don't want winning users, and they don't want users that fit or that move the odds to the fair odds, because the people that loses money faster. So they prefer their users to lose money slower for longer time, and they want many users that lose a small amount of money but for a long time, so that the total amount lost by their users is higher than the other situation where the users lose a lot of money in a short period of time. So it's something that they are aware of, although other part of the gambling community don't know about these practices. I was very surprised that many gambling members of bookmakers don't know about what the sports bettors part of the market is doing to their users, restricting
Mhm.
and banning them or closing their accounts.
Is that still the case? Because I thought that, this topic had become a little bit more, especially in the industry, people are more aware of it just because there's been more
Yeah,
talk about it. And it seems to impact more people these days. I suppose as well, it's fair to say that each bookmaker is slightly different in how they might overview your account, how quickly they might apply any kind of limits to you. Um, and so it's very hard to judge on a case by case basis because it's
yeah,
so different per different bookmaker. So you might get one firm which is extremely quick and hot to close down
yeah.
your account, but another one which will be slow. We've got some more questions coming in. Let me get to some of these. So, Jakey Caden, hi Miguel. Do you trade your selections in play on Betfair, or do you let your selections ride?
Well, here in Spain, the liquidity of the Betfair exchange website is very small, so I don't lose time trading or placing bets in the exchange market because most of the time my bets are not matched.
No.
So I don't use this kind of
It,
bets,
mi-
and
it might not.
I also don't like cashing out any bet because I found that I'm losing value in the long term.
Yeah, I was going to ask. That's my question. Cash out, because if you don't use exchanges, you can still use the cash
No,
out functionality, but very
no.
often that's negative value, isn't it? You could,
Well,
on the long term.
some days ago, I used the cash out, and I was lucky because I was watching a match, and the player was injured. So I cashed it out because it was a bookmaker that void the bet, that voids the bet if the player retires. So it's the only situation where I cash out sometimes if I see that the player is not ending the match and it is a bookmaker where the will be void.
Yes, and that's an important part of betting on tennis. Are the rules per each bookmaker. So, if it happens more regularly than you realize when you start to bet on tennis, that games don't reach
Yeah,
completion. A player may retire through injury or some other particular reason. No, normally, like it's injury, um, and therefore it depends if one set is completed, if one game is completed. Each
yeah.
bookmaker has slightly different rules. So it's always worth being aware of. But that's a good thing about winning odds. If you log your bet with, I don't know, Bet365, you will settle that bet using your bet settlement approach based on the terms from that bookmaker, won't you?
Yeah, but it is strange that Bet365, for example, now has a policy where if your game or if the rival retires, you also get the profit of the bet. So it's something that they are generous in this kind of situations.
Yeah.
Only in very big tournaments. In the
Okay.
smaller tournaments, they don't do so. And also, I prefer that if the match doesn't end, does not end, is a void because most of the time we lose money when a player retires. We use the players we bet on usually are the one that retires because something we don't know or our algorithm doesn't know something about this. Probably in the market there is a suspicious situation where the player may be injured or not, and most of the time this in the bookmakers where the retirement is a loss, we lose more than we win with these situations.
Okay. So a few more questions. Thank you everyone for posting your questions. Keep them coming in. VM Varga asking about the same similar question about beating closing lines. What I would say to people asking that question in the email I've sent out about this live stream, I did a video myself where I talked about the reality of betting, my own experience, but the reality of betting with soft bookmakers who will close you down. And we were chatting before, Miguel. There's one of the tips I put in for SBC members is to double up your bets because there's two reasons behind that. So if you take a tennis bet that you wish to place and then make it a double, you can even make it a treble if you so wish, and you can choose a short odds favorite, especially in a big market. Sometimes it helps that bet go through without being referred to trader, or perhaps it doesn't get overviewed quite as quickly as if you just bet on the single tennis player. But also, if you combine your tennis bet with a large market, let's say you're backing over half a goal, over one goal in most more football matches, it might be 1.10. So 1 to 10, it might be 1.1. If it's a big market, very often it'll increase how much you can get down. You've been doing this. How have you found tactics like that to help you get on and keep your accounts live?
Well, I don't like making doubles or combining bets because of the theory that you may be reducing your expected value.
Yep.
But in some situations, I think it is required, especially in bookmakers that restrict very fast. So you have to confuse them a little bit with your bets. It's like the same like using multiples of €5 or using sometimes the casino, lose some euros there. So there are several strategies, and of course, placing bets in very large markets is a very good strategy. And well, I prefer betting on under in an under market of under 7 goals or under 6.5 goals, so that something is very rare to happen because the 0-0 is sometimes very very common in some matches. So I prefer unders instead of over 0.5 goals. But I think that is a practice that improves extends the life of your account normally. And if you have several bets of winner odds in the same bookmaker, you can also combine them. The only problem will be that the stats of your account will probably not be the same in the long term because in winner odds you only can track single bets. But it is also a practice. It is also a practice that it is useful to extend the life of your account.
Yeah, and I do that myself. And obviously you're compounding the value. Even if you combine one that's very small value with one that's large value, or even doing two or three, it does, increase how much profit you can make. The volatility increases because you go from taking, one player that might be 1.5 to two players that are 1.5. So therefore, you've got a odds against double there. So it's less likely to win than otherwise. But at the same time, the more you do, the greater the chance that you'll make higher profits. You just need to have, like you say, a bit more patience. Maybe I find having some fixed rules helps. So, generally you might not want to put doubles, two tennis players in a double if they're both 2.0 or above. You might only want to do if they're under 1.5 and below. For example, you might want to have some fixed rules. And obviously you need to make sure that the two players are, as a combination, are over the value threshold at the same bookmaker, because it's not always the case. You might have bookmaker one is offering the value price and bookmaker two is offering the second value price. So it's certainly an option, and something I can advocate in using it. We've got a few more questions or points. Michael Boyer, been using winner odds for 6 years, best product, best expert in the industry. Thanks, Miguel. So
thank you.
yeah, very nice. And we also got same question from Woodman about winner odds used as the odds moving and bookmakers, like in terms of account restrictions. Sebastian, though, has got a good question here. Hi, are you thinking of offering new sports on the app? So I know you've got tennis, football, and table tennis, but I guess the table tennis is still limited to 20 users. Are there plans to increase how many people use table tennis? And are you able to talk about any other sports you might be developing?
Okay, we are working already in basketball. We spent a lot of time in the probability generation with the artificial neural networks, because basketball is a very different sport, because the number of points at each game is very high compared with soccer or football. So that we have to modify the way we provide the probabilities of winning, of handicaps and over-unders, and we have spent a lot of effort on this. Now we have the algorithm in a back test period, and I know that some of our people is already betting in basketball, but I find it still very risky because we don't have enough history, enough real bets in order to have a good idea about the stats of this. I'm still not very happy with the over-under performance, and I think we will still improve it, or we need to improve it a little bit. And I don't know when are we having these new sports. When are we offering this new sport to our users? We have to be very sure that the results are good enough.
Mm-hmm. That's basketball then, and so obviously that's a work in progress. What about the table tennis? Because that's been an offer for, is it all of 2023? And you've taken on 20 members at the start of each month. What's that been like? And the results look to be fantastic. Are there any plans to open it up to more people in the future?
Yeah, the table tennis service is very different because the liquidity is small. Not many bookmakers offer table tennis, or at least lower number of bookmakers offering this sport. And we found that perhaps having many users with this sport would be very difficult to follow. So we decided to restrict the number of bettors. They have to be very intense players, because we have more or less double bets than in tennis, double number of bets per week than in tennis. We can have 800, 900 bets per week published in our service, so that if someone wants to take profit of table tennis, has to be very focused on this service. And that is the reason of having a small number of users that are until now taking profit of the recommendations, and I think that they are happy. Many of them are repeating month after month, so I think that we have found a very good service. Of course, it's difficult to follow because there are many bets and you have to spend more time. We also have a different way of providing the recommendations. We provide them only 20 minutes before the match. because we are waiting for all the bookmakers to publish the odds. Otherwise, the only one that is publishing the odds a long time before of the start of the match is Bet365. So if we publish the recommendation a long time before the match, the odds lower, so that the rest of the bookmakers take profit on that and offer also lower odds, and we cannot use them. So most of the bookmakers copy the Bet365 odds, so we have to wait until they have also published the odds.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like quite a few other niche markets that we see these days where you can bet early, you're ruining the fact that everyone else is going to copy the only firm that prices it up. So table tennis isn't scalable really. I presume basketball would be though, because obviously you wouldn't just be looking. People know about the NBA, but there's quite a lot of depth in the European basketball markets, isn't there? There's across the totals, handicap, money line. Are you seeing a good market there in terms of obviously results to one side, but in terms of the size of the markets and the potential for lots of people to follow these bets if and when basketball is ready to go?
Yeah, we are also focusing on leagues, not other kind of tournaments. So we need the number of games to be more or less stable. We don't, or it is difficult for us to have good probabilities for international matches. So we focus on each country league. It's easier for us. So if we have this situation control with the number of matches, the number of matches of each team is more or less constant. So it is easier for us. And I find that the liquidity is high enough, especially in the NBA and some European competitions too. And the number of markets is very high because of the big or the high number of points at each match. So you can bet at different under or different overs, different handicaps, and increase the liquidity by doing so. We will change the way we show the information so that it will be easier for the users to bet in several overs or several unders, and so increase the liquidity. Of course, I don't know how will the bookmakers react to this. If some bookmakers don't like a bettor to place many bets on the same match or in the same market, sometimes they block the bets, or sometimes they lower the odds very fast. So I don't know. We will try when we have more users betting.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to hearing more on basketball in due time. Some more questions coming, guys. If you have more questions, please keep them on, because we've got more time here that we can answer any queries that you might have. Some more questions about the fact that winner odds do move quite quickly, and it's for people that are heavy users. Most of the time, someone's saying the odds disappear very quickly, and that is true. It depends on which bookmaker you're using. Less so at the moment, I would suggest, because we've got the Australian Open, so those markets will absorb more money, and we also see more money coming in for the other side on certain matches. And that's one of the questions for you, is actually, Miguel, is to, in terms of how you benchmark performance, because most people would use CLV, but in these markets, especially the smaller tennis markets, the amount of money from winner odds users can dramatically reduce the price of a bet, and therefore it never rebounds, and there's no liquidity in the market to make CLV a good benchmark. How then do you judge your edge and how it still exists if you can't use CLV? Profit and loss being one, but how else are you able to observe that?
Okay, of course, our users influence on the odds, especially when they bet in Pinnacle or when they bet in Bet365, that are bookmakers that are followed by other bookmakers that just copy the odds. And our strategy is to adapt to these movements. So if we found that the odds rebound so that they are getting higher, we change the minimum profitable odds, and that is what we call dynamic minimum profitable odds. So it's the way we adapt to these movements in the market, especially if there is something we cannot know or we cannot input in our algorithm. injuries or any other news about the player or the coach or the the weather, anything. And in these big tournaments like the Australian Open, we found that many times odds move very fast, and then we also try to take profit of this. If we see that some sharp bookmakers move the odds very fast, we adapt also to this by lowering the minimum profitable odds, and also in the opposite way. If we see that the bookies are increasing the odds, we try to avoid these bets by increasing the value of the minimum profitable odds.
Okay, so it's the dynamic pricing. That when was that
Yeah.
introduced? When was that always been in place, or is that a more recent introduction?
No, we are using this in tennis since 3-4 years ago, and
Okay.
we are using this in football since the beginning, because it is a very good strategy. Of course, we know that when the odds are going low, most of the time is because of our own bets, of our users' bets. But if it goes in the other direction, then we have to be careful with that. And a lot of people ask, okay, if the minimum profitable odds are now above the odds I placed, should I close the bet or should I cash out? No, you shouldn't, because probably you are getting already less money than you placed, and only in the situation where you can recover the whole bet would be a good practice. But most of the time this doesn't happen. So if you have bet, it had value when you place the bet, and you have to wait. This is part of the risk you are assuming.
That's a good question, because people will wonder that. And I think when I see bets that drift in price, so the sometimes the for me the optimal time to take a winner odds bet is as soon as it is released and notified. So you get a Telegram notification, you're on the winner odds platform, you take that bet, the instant it goes out. That's just the reality of it. And there's a few comments talking about that. But then when a bet may have been available for 10 hours and then
Yeah.
suddenly it drops in price at the instant it goes out and then drifts in price over those 10 hours, the question is, okay, maybe if you've taken the bet, you say just leave it, but is it still good to take? Or you still think that if there's been a move for that player in the opposite or the opposite player,
Mhm.
is that still a value bet? You just place every bet that's value and don't worry about it.
Well, it depends on the tournament mainly. If you are betting on a small ITF tournament and the bet has been there above the minimum profitable odds for many hours, normally is still profitable without doubt. I do it myself. The bet has been there for many hours. It's a small tournament, then no problem. If this bet is very old and it is in a very big tournament, sometimes something happens. And well, I follow the method and I place every bet, but I know that these bets have less value. But I think that they are still profitable, as I am sure that the minimum profitable odds in the long term have an edge above zero yield. So you still have some margin, and they are still profitable in the long term. If you want to be more conservative, you can avoid that bets that have been there for a long time. But I think that in the long term, you are losing value.
Okay, thanks for that. Some more questions coming in. Thank you everyone for their questions. Kevin and Jack are asking similar questions. Kevin, is there any way it can work on Betfair, especially if Betfair is giving the same odds as recommended? I think that's, and Jack's got the same question, using the Betfair exchange. Now, clearly, if the value price is on Betfair, then absolutely
Yeah.
it will work. But the issue comes with the lower tournaments, whereby, um, especially on the exchange, there's just no liquidity or sometimes no markets. Therefore, are there? So
Mm-hmm.
Betfair is sometimes an option, but not enough. And you're obviously competing with other people trying to take that value, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that well, I don't understand why these exchange platforms don't show more events, because they are not losing anything. They could offer them, and if someone bets or someone offers a bet, is not a problem for them. And I think that in soccer or football would be more interesting to place bets on exchange because you have more liquidity. And although we are also sometimes showing recommendations in small leagues, so that even in football sometimes the matches are not in the exchange. So, but I don't have a lot of experience on this because in Spain uh, it's not a possibility to earn money in the exchange. Well, you can do it, but you have to spend more time.
And that would be the similar thing for Pinnacle. I think people ask about Pinnacle and maybe Asian bookmakers. My experience of that is you have to be very quick. Those prices
Yeah,
do move very quick. Now you can still get time because sometimes when there's a big difference between the value price and the minimum profitable odds,
yeah,
it doesn't go down straight away to the underneath the minimum profitable odds, but it will go underneath it, over a period of a few minutes, depending upon the gap. So
yeah,
it's certainly an option. And I think there was a user that's posted in the Discord, was it last month, about their performance using Pinnacle only, and it had been
yeah.
profitable for them. So it is an angle, just as Betfair is, but again, it's just going to appeal to those people with the speed to place those bets in Pinnacle.
Yeah,
And
there is
yeah.
something that happens with the people that is interested in on using winner odds with Pinnacle. So, usually they ask, "Can I use winner odds only with Pinnacle?" And we normally recommend them to not do so. So if you only have Pinnacle, it's better to follow other services because winner odds is not a good service for only one bookmaker. As you have said, you have to be very fast, and in that case the highest amount you can bet is normally small, so you're spending time and risk for a small amount or a small volume. So when someone asks us if they can bet only in Pinnacle, we normally recommend them not joining winner odds because it's difficult to win money in Pinnacle only with that bookmaker. Usually what happens is that they expect many bets also in one bookmaker, but when Pinnacle offers the odds, normally is later than other bookmakers where we have already bet, and Pinnacle also takes into account that information. So some time ago, Pinnacle was a faster bookmaker in offering the odds, but nowadays they wait a little bit more, I think, and it's very difficult to beat them if they are waiting and they are taking information from other bookmakers too.
In terms of bookmakers, have you had any experience where bookmakers are using winner odds themselves to adapt their tennis markets, or are they just using the money that comes in from users following your tennis markets?
Well, there is no way I can know if someone is using it. I hope not, and I think that we would detect it because we don't allow any automated interaction with our web page. So we only allow human interaction with winner odds. And I think they use the information of our users because I think that for a bookmaker will be more or less easy to identify the users that more or less or that many times place the same bets at the same time. So they use information through our users for sure.
Yep. A good question here from Christos, who's asking, are you planning to add CLV information into the results of the Winamax platform? So for those who haven't used it, you can, there's some really good results. You can export your results. You can filter by tournament, by date, by odds
Yeah.
range. It's very intuitive, but obviously there's nothing on CLV. Is that something you've considered, or is it difficult to implement? Are there any reasons why you don't have CLV information in there?
Yeah, we can add that info, but which bookmaker are we using when Pinnacle is not offering these odds? So we can provide that information about which are the CLV, or which is the final odds of Pinnacle or other bookmakers, but it is not so easy. It's something we have considered to add it because it would make some people to feel better if they have beaten the closing odds and they have lost. Sometimes they think that it is a good bet anyway, but it requires time. And as I always say, I prefer focusing on what we must have, that is better minimum profitable odds, more events, more sports, than must or than nice to have functionalities like or showing better stats or anything. So it's something that is in the list, but we have many things to do before that. And I think that our users also, or most of the users, don't mind about that. They just place the bets and forget.
Mhm. It's often I find when you have a new user or perhaps you go through a downturn. I think there was
Yeah.
a period in September where you had a period of just losing bets, just
Mm-hmm.
quite normal. And at that point, people start to ask questions. Has the edge gone? How can I see my CLV?
Yeah.
And at that point, I suppose you then look at the underlying stats and people need to trust and have confidence
Yeah.
that you know the edge is still there and it's just a period of normal variance.
Well, in my case, I have done it myself. So in one of the bookmakers, I was very unlucky. I was winning money, but not in that bookmaker. So what is happening? Have we lost the edge with this specific bookmaker or not? So I made the CLV analysis, and it was just I was very unlucky on that bookmaker. But well, I was in a almost 20,000 losing streak, so 20,000 euros in one bookmaker, and I was winning
Oh,
on the total sum of bookmakers. So was something happening or not? And it wasn't. I have recovered from that drawdown in this specific bookmaker, and in the long term, and we have edge, and it's something that I analyze, as you know, every 6 months when I send you the stats.
yeah.
And in that moment, I also have checked the CLV where I have the pinnacle odds, and we more or less have the same edge like in the beginning. The thing that happens most is that the percentage of bets that end below the minimum profitable odds is now much higher than 5 6 years ago. So the bookies are adapting to our bets more than before. So they move or they change the odds more frequently than years ago.
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
and that account where you lost all that money, I imagine that you were able to win more on the long term of it because they profiled you as a loser. Is that the case?
Yeah. In fact, I'm still not restricted. It is
Wow.
Winamax, and they are still letting me bet. Perhaps because I also play poker on that platform sometimes. And well, I don't know. I am not restricted there. They even offer me the cash points so that I can get cash. The more I bet, the more cash I get because I
Brilliant.
they have this kind of promo, and the higher volume, the more cash you can. It's like raking poker, so you can get more
Yeah.
points. And well, I don't know when are they going to close my account, but until then I will bet hard with them.
Let's hope they're not watching today or doing a Google on your name. They'll quickly
Yeah.
close you down, I'm sure. In terms of the bookmakers, then on the bookmaker panel, Tom has asked, Tom Portlock said, are there any crypto bookmakers on the Winodds platform? And I think that leads to another question in terms of the bookmakers that you have on there, because I don't know how many you have. There's probably 50 plus that you track. Do you have
Yeah.
plans to add more, or is it just quite difficult maintaining the list of bookmakers you currently have?
Okay. Well, we have the stats about how much volume is placed in on each bookmaker, and so we try to maintain the bookmakers where the volume is high. And if we see that that bookmaker restricts very fast, or the total volume is very low because of that restrictions or closing accounts, then sometimes we left them and we stopped tracking them. But also they are increasing the difficulty of getting the info because they use more and more technologies to avoid people from getting their odds and their events and everything. So from time to time they change and they make us to analyze the web page again, and so we need to maintain it, and it's very time consuming. That is one of the reasons of increasing the team also in winner odds, because we need more effort on this in order to maintain the number of bookmakers that are tracked. And regarding the crypto bookmakers, we found that they are not very safe. We have some bad experiences with them, so we think that they are not very, or at least we don't recommend them unless you have a very risky profile. So because sometimes you can lose all your money there. It is a scam sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. I think at the moment, it's very much buyer beware when it comes to crypto bookmakers. Maybe in future there'll be because in theory there should be lower costs transacting with crypto. But at the moment it only seems to appeal to the perhaps like you say, those slightly higher risk firms. So one point I would suggest, and I put them in the videos I created, is looking at, although you don't cover every single bookmaker, to do so would be very, very difficult. But what you can often find are that firms that aren't tracked on the winner odds platform, their odds can sometimes still be value or can be the same. So there are several firms who offer the same odds as Bet365. We've got them listed in the Smart Betting Club. We've got a bookmaker section. If you remember, you'll be able to find that. And we list those firms who offer the same prices and same odds. Now, they are different to Bet365, but I don't know if they have a license with them or they just copy their odds. So therefore, you can go through, not if you lose Bet365, of course, that's the game is up with them on that particular firm with that account, but you can go and open accounts with these other firms and still take advantage of the same prices. And I think with a little bit of time, and if you find a bookmaker, you might be in I don't know, you're in Spain, and so you obviously got a lot of Spanish bookmakers, and we'll have a lot of people from the UK watching this and UK bookmakers. But if you are from around the world, your bookmaker might not be listed on winner odds, but very often you can find they're offering tennis markets. You can compare what their prices are versus winner odds. And I've often found that you can see there are value prices to be had, and no one else knows about it very often. You're the only person taking advantage.
Usually those bookmakers copy. They are not using the same odds. They just do the same like we do. They track the odds and they copy them. And of course, if you are able to bet on them, it's a very good opportunity. If you are aware that they are copying the odds, you can activate that bookmaker on winner odds and then place the bets in another one. And also, I think that in Spain it's not easy to do that because we are not allowed to bet on foreign bookmakers. That is something that is very strange nowadays, where you can buy from anywhere, any other part of the world, but you cannot bet in other bookmakers. So we are restricted also to bet on Spanish bookmakers. I think that the main reason is that we pay taxes, so they want to control all the money, and they don't want this money to become from other origins that are not controlled by them. But of course, there are many, we call them clone bookmakers, so that they are almost the same, and there are many of them. You can take profit and even increase the volume bet by placing the same bet in many bookmakers at the same time.
Yep, some good options there. So I think we've probably got perhaps another 15 minutes with Miguel. So if people do have questions, feel free to get them in. I'm mindful there's a few topics I haven't really asked you about, the Spanish Betting Association. But before I ask about that, I wanted to ask about the football side of winner odds. We talked a lot about tennis, but the football is overlooked. And in the call we had prior to the live stream, you did tell me that you're more confident than ever in your football algorithm and
Yeah.
the work behind it. Tell us a little bit about the work you've done on that and why you're so confident now in its edge.
Yeah. Well, in the tennis algorithm, we only have the home and away market, so you can only place bets on which player is going to win. But in the football market, we add the handicaps and we also add the over under markets, also the home draw away market. And after these years, we started with soccer in 2020. After these years, we have more data and we have improved the selection of these markets. So, is the which over unders are better for us? 2.5, 3.5. Which are the handicaps we are better on? We are better um, in specific Asian handicaps, and also the home away. We have also removed the draws from the systems we are using, so we have more data and we select better which markets have an edge for us. And I think that with this data and with this selection of markets, we are getting better results while maintaining the number of bets, because the more restrictive you are and the higher yield you expect, you reduce the number of bets, and finally you need to rotate your bankroll and you need to increase the volume, so we have to maintain a number of bets. And I think that since more or less 1 year ago, the results are quite good. The thing was that as the price of winning odds football was lower, the people that use this system had lower bankrolls, and the total profit obtained was lower because people had lower bankrolls. But the liquidity is high enough so that people with higher bankrolls can also take profit from the algorithm. And we have also noticed that these last months, people has increased the bankrolls, and new users also start with higher bankroll, and the total profit obtained is also higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've used the football platform before, and there was a lot of bets, and you could get a lot of volume down from. Obviously, it's tweaked since then, but and a wide range of markets, like you say. There's so many more football games than there are tennis matches taking place. So there's a lot more opportunity to grind through that bankroll, which is the key when you're working to a low ROI, low yield. If your bankroll growth is strong, then that makes up for that low ROI performance. Because I think my winner as long-term performance and the ROI is sub under 5%. So, and I've had really good bank growth. So, and I think I've had some bad luck along the way, and I'm sure in time that my ROI will increase. But it just speaks to the fact that bank growth is the key metric rather than just ROI. People sometimes get a little bit blindsided by needing a 40% ROI when it's the bank growth.
There is also something different in football, is that the majority of the matches are comprised in the weekend, so that you have many open bets since Monday, Tuesday, and you have to wait more time. So you need a very high bankroll to maintain those bets all this time. While in tennis or table tennis, you normally have hours or 1 day an open bet, and the number of bets you can place is higher. So if you are using football, there are some advantages and disadvantages compared with tennis, but I think that they can be combined, because especially in weekends, during the weekends, the number of bets in tennis is lower, so you can complement both sports very well.
Great. So that's football. And while you're here, I want to ask you about your work with the AEJAD. You'll have to pronounce it for me, but the Spanish Association of Sports Bettors, trying to represent. What I read about it on the website was when you go to these industry events, or there's always these bookmaker representative events, these trade events, which are always fighting hard for bookmakers' interests, but there's nothing to fight hard for people who bet. And it sounds like this is what your organization's trying to do.
Yeah, because when we were on that meeting with the regulator, they told us, okay, we didn't know who to ask about these issues, because there was no association, there was no representatives of bettors. So now, at least in Spain, they have this association that they can ask us about which are our concerns and which are our demands about improving the laws or the recommendations from the regulator to the bookmakers. And we are trying to represent all bettors, not only winning bettors, because some of the problems we find affect everyone. Problems with the withdrawal of the money, problem during the verification, or just it happens many times yet the when the bookmaker changed the odds. So you have placed the bet, and they say no, that odds were an error. We are paying 1.1 instead of 2, just because they can do it, and that is illegal. At least in Spain, there is an article of the law that say that that is not correct. They cannot do that, but they still do it. So I think that bettors or sports bettors required this association, and we started it. Nowadays, we are around 400 members, and they have paid a very small amount, 10 euros, just to take to become a member. And we communicate with them. We have some feedback from our members. And for example, now we are starting with a campaign in order to use the data protection regulation to erase our accounts from the bookmakers. And let's see if we can open the account again with as a new account, so we can start betting again. So it's something that I have tried myself, and it's working in some bookmakers. But I did it only with 4 bookmakers. I don't know what will happen if a lot of people is doing this, and perhaps we can find some bookmaker that accomplishes with the law and they erase the data and they allow you to open a new account in 3-6 months later. Something that is worth if you spend a small time or a small amount of money in erasing your data. So every 6 months you can have a new account, or every year, I don't know. So it's a campaign that we are trying now. And we have also sent many collaborations with the regulator. When they publish a new decree or a new law, they allow some period for organizations or even particulars to collaborate, and we have tried to participate and send them our suggestions or which are our concerns, and sometimes they have take them into account, and we hope that it will happen more often, because I think that with very small changes we can improve the way that we bet in a more transparent way, and in a more fair market for everyone. There is a word that they use a lot in their meetings, in the bookmaker and in the in the industry meetings they have, that is sustainability. And they want everything to be sustainable because they are winning a lot of money, so they want it to be sustainable. Yes. And this sustainability cannot be based on restricting winners and closing accounts of people that just places bets with value. Those bettors are taking a risk, and if they take a risk and they spend time selecting the bets, they get a reward. So it is not fair to just ban them, and the industry of sports betting cannot be based on this selection of users.
And so 400 users, how long has it taken to get 400? When did you start?
Excuse me?
When did the AEJAD start? When did your organization begin? And how long?
Yes, it was more or less 1 year ago. It was in 2022. And in the last year, we get around 400 members, and we are very happy with them, although we want more people to join us, because the more people we are, we can put more pressure on the regulator. Also, we would like to have contacts with the industry, with the bookmakers, but our interests are not in the same direction. So I think that we need to improve the regulation, and we are not achieving anything with the bookmakers. They don't like us, and they know us now, because when I was in that meeting, they knew what we were doing, and they know about us, of course, but I don't expect them to hear us directly. We have to go through the law, and changing the law is the only way to improve the sports betting market.
And so the more people that join and pay the €10, which is a lifetime fee, the more
Yeah.
impact that your organization can have, the more government will possibly, and the regulator might listen to you and take you seriously. So it's encouraging to see, because we've seen in the US there's been talk about the same issues as there are in the UK, and there's the Gambler Consumer Forum, which I helped to launch at the Smart Bash event that we held, and they're doing something similar. And having a coordinated organization does seem to have an impact, and the more people that support that organization, the more doors that open to them, whether it be a government or even with bookmakers, the
Yeah.
more likely they are going to be listened to. So, how about your court cases? What can you tell us about them, Miguel? I don't want to get into any legal trouble, but you've talked before about bookmakers
Yeah.
closing your account and wanting to keep them open. And I understand you've done you've taken some, or there's been some cases or some work that's taken place on that. What can you tell us on the live stream?
Yeah, well, since 2017, I started this legal war, first against Bet365. I started losing because they unrestricted my account for 2 weeks, and then they closed my account. So it was a very unfair situation, because we signed an agreement, and they allowed me to bet only for 2 weeks, and they knew that they were going to close my account after that. So it is very unfair. So we had to start again, and we are still on that process. But in the meantime, I have started these lawsuits against many other bookmakers. And although sometimes I have lost, and I even have had to pay for the costs of the court and everything, well, it is worth, because if you get some bookmakers accounts open for several months, you can take profit of these accounts very fast. I can tell I have won against 3 bookmakers, and I have earned a lot of money with them, so that paying €1,000 on placing the lawsuit, it is worth. And these bookmakers were Sportium, Betway, and Marathon Bet. They have closed my account later again, but well, it's something that happens because the law is changing. They can, or they use different excuses to close your account, so you have to be constantly starting again against them. So some people think that it is only worth if you get your account forever, but things are not black or white. Sometimes you have to take profit on the edge in a short period, and those months when you have an unrestricted account, you increase the volume of your notifications, and you take profit of all of them. And in my case, I have been lucky because I have won several times. And well, I have to say also that I was not very happy by starting this sports betting association by myself, because I'm involved in other ways than only a bettor. I have also winner odds, and of course, some people can say that I have interest on this apart from the interest from the bettors. But as I always have said, if restrictions didn't exist, winner odds would not exist. So, because probably it would be very difficult to follow if everyone was unrestricted. Probably winner odds would have no sense on being offered to many users, or at least it should adapt and change a lot, because we exist because restrictions exist as winner odds. So I was not very happy on the idea of starting this sports betting association by myself. But if anybody was doing that, and I couldn't find anyone to impulse this idea without me. So I decided to participate and start it by myself and other three people that have also spent a lot of time on this, and also is a risk for them because their names are on the association. Bookmakers can know about us, so it's something that has also risks for us. But I think that we have to do something, because when I see that this uh, sports betting for me is like a competition, and they don't allow you to compete because of these restrictions, or it is not fair, and I think that we have to do something. Also, placing or starting these lawsuits is another way to fight against them. The more people that is fighting against them, the better. At the beginning, some people was against me because I was helping other people to decide start this, because if you have something that gives you money, you want it only for yourself. In this sports betting ecosystem, we are very selfish, and we are very individualist, but I think that in this case it is a win-win situation, and we need to collaborate. Okay, it's always the same. When you find something, you want it just for yourself, but I think that in this case it is not something that can last forever, and the better way to fight against this is changing the law. And I also encourage people from other countries to start this movement against bookmakers in other countries, because they have to, or finally they will have to adapt and think that they cannot win money just because they discriminate between users. And well, on the next months, I also will start other lawsuits when other bookmakers restrict me, because there are also new bookmakers in Spain. So it is a cyclic situation. And well, until the law changes, I will be on the court.
Sounds like you're keeping your lawyer very busy, Miguel.
Yeah, I know they are very busy, but
Yeah.
I think that they know that at some time the law will change, or there will be a higher instance of the court that will settle a criterion for everyone.
Yeah.
And at that time, the lawsuits will almost end, because there will be a new a new criterion that will be applied all the time, so that it will not be necessary to go on court, because they have this jurisprudence. I don't know if it is the word in English, but they have this criterion to apply, and you don't need to go to the court.
It's almost like the precedent from the top court in the land, or the judgment from the top court. And
Yeah.
at the moment, we're seeing it play out in America at the moment with the various court cases in the presidential race. There's appeal. There's all these different levels of courts and different ways to delay and cause problems and ask for rulings on certain sub rulings and certain sub issues. So you can just see how these issues do take time for resolution. But credit to you for persisting and you're trying to promote this and putting the organization together, because I think it'd be very easy just to have winner odds, like you say, for yourself, just to use yourself or just for your community, and not to look at the bigger picture. But what you're doing in tackling these practices is, very, very much to be admired. And if people are interested, is it just for people based in Spain, your organization, Spanish only?
Yeah, because we are focused on the Spanish law.
Yeah.
I don't know which is the text of the law in other countries. I know that in Australia they also have some movement against these practices of the bookmakers. But I think that with very small changes in the Spanish law, we could have a much better environment. I have to tell that if we change what we want, bookmakers will probably find other ways to avoid our bets by delaying our bets or by doing other practices. a lot of people is worried about that because they say, okay, if we win and we change the law and we change the practices of the bookmakers, they will disappear or they will move to other countries or they will remove the markets. Well, I don't know. What I know is that what is happening now is not the best we can have. So is at least is what I think. Probably I am wrong and they will do something I don't expect. But the thing is that I don't like what is happening now, and I'm trying to help to change and improve the environment and the rules of this sports betting.
Well, it's really really to be commended. And I wish you well with the organization. And if you are watching this in Spain, then go check out the Spanish Association website that Miguel is running. Questions seem to have dried up, and I think we've reached our time limit for the live stream today. So Miguel, thank you ever so much for coming on, talking about all aspects of Winner Odds. I wish you all the very best with Winner Odds and the work you do there. Look forward to seeing. I'm gonna have to check out football again and look forward to seeing what happens with other products and basketball. Thank you as well to everyone that asked questions. This video will go on the Smart Betting Club channel. You'll be able to watch this in the future, even if you weren't here for the live stream. So thank you everyone for taking part. And Miguel, wish you all the very best with your legal cases and the work at Winner Odds.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this streaming, and I hope it will have impacted on the bettors and they will try to help us on our legal crusade, and also on encouraging them to try Winner Odds if they want to earn some money, and I hope they like it.
Yeah, well, it's a great service. And before we end, I will say we've published several reviews of Winner Odds using detailed analysis of the results, plus also my real life usage and performance doing it. I put 2 long videos together last year explaining how your service works, and another one for Smart Betting Club members who can then all my advice and tips of actually how to use it. Some of the things we talked about in this video and some other just bits and tips to make the most of it. If you have bookmaker accounts available to you, it's really a really good service and I can highly recommend it. So yeah, thank you everybody for this, and I'm going to end the live stream.